Okay. You hear me okay? My name is Matt Smith, and I have a son named Dane. My wife and I, Susan, who's over there. Raise your hand, Susan. She told me not to do that, but sorry. It took 30 seconds not to listen. Our son is 5 years old. He's been in the program over... There you go. Our son Dane has been in the program for a little over 3 years. When Dane was 10 weeks old, he suffered a traumatic brain injury, and it was very, very bad. It was very difficult on our family. I was trying not to get choked up, and that took me less than a minute too. So it was very dark days for us, and he was put into a coma so that his seizures would stop. He was given last rites. It was awful. And the prognosis on it was not good either. For some reason, they're very good at telling you the bad things that you can look forward to. Possibly being blind, being on a feeding tube for his entire life, really not being normal at all is what they had told us. So we didn't have good prognosis. It was very dark times, and once he was in the hospital for a little while, he started getting a little bit better. And as any parent tries to do for their child, they try to get everything good that they can for them. And my wife, Susan, has been unbelievable with trying to research on the internet and getting in groups and trying to figure out ways to get Dane better. So, flash forward to when he was around 18 months old. We've been doing different therapies, different daily sessions, and different types of things where he would be in for an hour to an hour and a half a couple times a day, a few times a week, and we were seeing a little bit of good things that were happening. Well, my wife went to a doctor's appointment with my son, and they said there's a program through MSU that they're giving away free scholarship to the CL to run some intensive therapy. And so my wife and I talked about it and said, well, this would be crazy if we don't do this. Let's see what it is. It's from 9 to 3 every day, and we get to bring Dane there, and he gets intensive therapy every day. And we're like, well, let's just give this a try. So I went there on my first day, and it was before Dane was even enrolled in the program, and a couple things stand out to me. And that was when I watched what these kids were going through, and I saw how they were working, and if you saw the videos, what they were doing, it's almost overwhelming. And I started getting emotional, and I was sitting there, and I was watching these kids work very hard, and I just about started crying, and then an arm came around my shoulder, and I hear, oh, darling, darling, you'll be okay, darling. And it was Andrea, who runs the program, and she says, Dan will be okay. If he comes here, he'll be good. You'll see they're working. The kids are getting good. And she was right. She was exactly right. And it's amazing to watch the people that come from out of the Grand Rapids area, Detroit, all over Michigan, all over the country. Dane has friends from all over the United States. And it's funny because I was in a meeting about a month ago, it was a parent meeting, because there was a new session that was starting. And you kind of go over the protocol, what's going on. Some of the new parents were learning about it. And one of the moms that was there, you know, everyone was just kind of introducing herself. She told us how much hope she has for her son. And her name's, she doesn't know I was going to do this. Her name's Susan from Wisconsin. Well, that's not her last name, not from Wisconsin. Her name's Susan, she's from Wisconsin. She has a son named Jaden, and the look of excitement in her eyes and how much hope she had for her son. And I remember thinking back when my wife and I were getting Dane into this, I didn't have the courage to have that much hope. When you have a child with special needs, you have a lot of lows. You have highs, but you have more lows than highs. And I didn't have the courage to take a chance and have the hope that she had. And I can tell you, Susan, that you've got Jaden in the right place. The things that we've seen with Dane and that you're going to see with him are incredible. It's amazing. Taking things for granted doesn't happen anymore. We've seen Dane go from not being able to crawl, not being able to sit, crisscross applesauce, or what you might call Indian style if you're politically incorrect. To be able to do those types of things is amazing. And you watch what the conductors and the students, so they mentioned that students from Aquinas College, they work harder than anyone I've ever seen. They do things that, I mean, they don't get a day off. There's nothing easy for them. And they help our kids get better. And the other thing that stands out in my mind from conductive learning, Dane had been in there about 2 years, and one of the sacrifices you make if you're a parent with this is you need to drop off your kid and your child and pick them up, and there's a big sacrifice. And anyone that's come from out of the state, they either have to get an apartment or get a house or rent, and it's a big sacrifice financially and physically and emotionally. And so I happened to not pick up Dane for probably 2 or 3 weeks, so I hadn't really seen Dane come out of the Conductive Center. And one of the days I came in there to see him, he was, that picture that's up there, I don't know if it's on all these, he was walking with his walker, and I'd never seen that happen before. And the look of joy and pride in his blank-eating grin that was on his face was unbelievable. I'll never forget that. And also the next day, probably 2 or 3 days after, when the child before him was going ahead and Dane had his walker and was ramming the child in front of him because he wasn't going fast enough, that stood out in my mind too. So it was good to see. It was fast progress. When you look around here and see the generosity and the money that is given to help these kids get better and to help my kid get better, we happen to be a fortunate family. We have unbelievable family support, and thank God for my brother Tim and his wife Cindy, financial support to help us with this. But there's a lot of families that don't, and your donations and what you've done, you have no idea how far that goes with us emotionally and what that does for us and how it helps these kids get better every single day. My wife and I had always said, you know, you're dealt one hand in life, and it's not fair seeing some of the things, seeing the hands that some of these kids are dealt. I kind of changed that philosophy because I used to play a lot of cards. I'm not really allowed to play anymore, but I used to play a lot of cards. And I've never played a card game where you only dealt one hand. What conductive learning does is they continually are reshuffling the deck for our kids. They're giving them new hands and better hands every single day. And it's unbelievable how that works. Thank you. And what it does for us. So just like to say thank you for everyone for coming. Greatly appreciate it. And my challenge to you is to, one, whoever won that Harley, drive that up to Conductive and check it out. You have to. The kids would love it. 2, everyone here I know is good about it, but try to spread the word as much as you can. And if there's a way that you'd like to help, like they had mentioned, volunteer at the Fifth at Riverbank Run, or even stop by and ask what you can do. Sometimes they need help at lunches with feeding. Some of the kids are helping out. Anything helps at all, and you have no idea how much we appreciate it as parents. So thank you very much.
All right, next,